Hello there, dear viewer, and welcome to attaQ. My name is Jakob. I'm your host, and you're watching a attaQ episode. And in this episode, we'll have a look at Roland's Go Mixer Pro X. Full disclosure before we begin, Roland sent me this Go Mixer Pro X so that I could review it. I didn't pay a dime for it, nor are they paying me for any review. They just said, "Can you review this?" I said yes, and I'm allowed to say whatever I want, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Now, I've segmented this video up in parts so it's easier for you to find exactly what you're looking for. And you'll be able to skip around the different parts if you go check the pinned comment where I'll put the timestamps for all of the sections. Now, before we dive into this, I want to answer the question, what's the difference between the Go Mixer Pro and the Go Mixer Pro X? Well, the Pro X is black and the Go Mixer Pro is white. And there have been some other changes. For instance, the Go Mixer Pro X now lets you connect a headset or a plug-in mic right here. So this is multifunctional. You can connect a pair of headphones here, or you can connect a headset. And when you do that, you can control the volume for the mic on the headset with this control here. Now, the Pro X also features a pad switch for the guitar bass input. Lastly, the plug-in mic input has been switched out to a fully functional TRRS smartphone connection. Now, this is something you want to use if you're using a smartphone where you don't have USB OTG connection available. And they even supply you a cable for that. And there you go. Those are the changes from the previous version to this version. And now we're gonna dive in deeper and have a look at what the Pro Mixer X can actually offer us. The Roland Pro X gives you a huge amount of options in a very small and portable package. You can connect the Pro X to both Android and iOS devices. However, there's something you need to consider when it comes to the phantom power in the case of iOS, and we'll get into that later on. If we have a look at the unit, we can see a lot of input ports. So we've got an XLR mic connection for condenser microphones, and you can of course supply it with 48 volts of phantom power. You've also got instrument inputs right here on the side, and on the other side we've got the input for bass and guitar, which now also has a pad switch, and the pad switch is on the front. And if we stick on the front, we also have two stereo line inputs. And what I mean is, I'm not saying that this is left or right. Both inputs here are stereo inputs. And on top of that, if you got a mic on a headset and you connect that, then that will go into the unit too. So as you can see, there's a lot you can do with the Pro X. So it's got mixer in the name, and yeah, this really is a mixer with a sound interface, and you'll get a stereo pair out from this thing when connected over USB. So as you can see, all of the inputs have their own individual volume knobs. However, you do not have any volume control for the line ins. If you want to adjust the volume for anything connected there, well, you're gonna have to go to the devices that are connected to those input ports. Lastly, the volume knob right here, well, this is your master volume knob. Now you might be wondering, what do we do for monitoring? Well, as I said, there is a headphone and headset port right here, and here you'll be able to monitor everything going on inside your Pro X and also stuff going on inside the smartphone or smart tablet you might have your Pro X connected to. Now, I do realize that some of you might want to use some monitoring speakers instead, so where do you connect those? Well, as you can see, you don't really have any line outs on this thing. You actually have to connect them to that same port. In this case here, I've got an iLoud portable speaker from iK Multimedia, and I've got it connected from the output of the headphone port to the input of the speaker, and this is how you'll have to use it. And I must say, this is a pretty sweet portable setup. I'd say that the Pro X is very portable, very much thanks to its small size, and it's actually not that much bigger than a 2.5 external hard drive cabinet. It weighs almost nothing because the enclosure is made out of plastic and so are the knobs, and even when you put batteries in this thing, it doesn't add much because it's not using AA batteries, it's using AAA batteries. I do have a bit of critique when it comes to the knobs though. They are a bit wobbly, and I think I would have wanted a little bit more resistance in the knobs when I tweak them. It doesn't really ruin the control of them or anything like that, I just thought I'd mention it. Now, when it comes to powering this thing, you have two ways of doing that. The obvious way is powering by batteries, of course, and this thing will run for about 4 hours on 4 AAA batteries. So when you want to run it off batteries, you just flip this switch on and you'll see the power LED light up in green. Now, if this starts blinking, it means that power is low, and as soon as it starts blinking, the power will go out within a minute. Now, this blinking LED indicating a low battery or low power is something you'll see also when connecting to USB if the unit is not getting enough power when you're switching on the 48-volt phantom power. Stick with me because I'll explain it all. It is very different connecting stuff to an Android device compared to connecting stuff to an iDevice. You can power this thing off the USB port, and you can do that with a USB battery, you can do it with wall power from a smartphone adapter, you can even do it with a powered USB hub, as long as the USB hub is being supplied enough power for whatever else you might have connected to that hub. And you can also power it from an Android device or an iOS device. Now, I've been mentioning Android and iDevices a lot simply because I'm a mobile music producer. I don't use Mac or PC, but that doesn't mean that you can't connect the Pro X to those devices. You can. It can be powered off a Mac or a PC, and since the Pro X is USB class compliant, you don't need any drivers to get a connection going. Oh, and I do want to highlight that you can actually run the Pro X in a standalone mode. I mean, as long as you've got either batteries in it, or if you're powering it from a wall wart or a USB battery, you pretty much have a little standalone mixer. Now we're gonna get into how you can connect the Pro X to a smartphone or a smart tablet. You see, the box ships with 2 USB cables. Both of them are micro USB at one end, which is the connection port on the Pro X, and then they end up in either a USB-C or a Lightning connector. However, there are different things to think about when you're connecting the Pro X to either an Android or an iOS device. And so there are 2 sections here. So for iOS users, just stick with me and we'll start with that. Android users, however, you can skip to this part here. Now, I've got a fair amount of iDevices here that I can test with, and I've tested with iPhones and I've tested with iPads, I've tested with Lightning ports, and I've tested with USB-C ports, and it works. However, there is this one thing that you're gonna come across, and it has to do with the 48-volt phantom power. You see, when you are powering the Pro X from an iPhone or an iPad, you will see the blinking light when you turn on the phantom power, indicating that you're running low on power. And that is because Apple has limited the power output of the iDevices, and they simply cannot provide the amount of power you need to run the Pro X with the 48-volt phantom power on. So what do you do then? Well, I've also tested running this with a powered USB hub in between, and that solves the problem. As long as the USB hub is able to supply enough power, that really does solve the problem. So I've made this USB connection with a USB-C hub, and that worked, and I've also tried it over the 2 different official USB adapters that Apple makes. So I've tested the CCK and I've tested with the USB 3 to Lightning adapter. It all works as long as you're using a powered hub when you've got the phantom power on. If you don't want to use the phantom power, you can just run the mixer straight off the cables that they supply in the box. Right, over to the Android side. So Android users, now it's not often I get to talk to you directly on my channel simply because, well, I know I don't feature Android stuff that much. However, I'm trying to change that. You see, I recently got myself a Galaxy Tab 6S Lite Wi-Fi. I purchased it from an auction site, so it is used and I didn't have to pay much. It was a good deal for me because the unit was made back in 2020 and it looks as if I'll be able to also upgrade to Android version 12 or what is it? The next one coming? I'm not too sure. I'm learning. So what do you need to think about when you're trying to connect the Pro X to an Android device? Well, you do need your Android device to be able to supply a USB connection. Now, Roland has done a lot of tests with different types of Android devices, and they do have a list that they supply, and I've put a link to that list down in the description and also in a pinned comment so you can go and check it out. My Galaxy Tab 6S Lite Wi-Fi wasn't listed there, but I did test the Pro X with it by using the supplied cable in the box, and it actually works. So Roland, you can probably add that to that list too. You can also run the 48-volt phantom power without any problems. You don't need any powered hubs like you would need on iOS. No, you can just power it and run everything from your Android device. Now, if it turns out that your Android device does not have a USB OTG connection, then there is another option for you. You see, in the box, Roland supplies us with this cable here. It's a TRRS cable, and it's meant to be connected to the smartphone port here, and then into the headphone port of an Android device. You can even do this on iOS. And if it turns out that your Android device does not have a headphone port, then you can use one of those stupid little dongles, you know, from USB-C to a headphone port. Now, what this means is that you're gonna get a stereo monitoring signal from your smartphone or smart tablet going back into the mixer so you can hear everything going on. However, when it comes to getting the audio from the Pro Mixer X into your smartphone or smart tablet, you're only getting one channel in mono because that's how those ports work. They're made for headset microphones. Now, when it comes to the instrument inputs and the line inputs, they're very, very quiet. I hardly hear any noise or anything from them. However, the mic input is noisy and the bass guitar one is also noisy. So if you're not using them while you're using the other ones, just turn them down. And this noise becomes less apparent, of course, when you've got stuff connected to them. And I must say, there's quite a bit of amplification on both of these inputs. Oh, and there's one thing I really want to highlight because I was tricked into thinking that I had an overly noisy session going on, and I couldn't figure out what it was until I recognized my own breathing. You see, I was monitoring all the signals with a headset with a built-in microphone, and I didn't realize that I had turned this knob all the way up. So if you're not using it and you're using a headset to monitor your signals, just remember to turn this down. This has happened more than once. Yeah, I'm dumb. What can I say? So lastly, there is this loopback mode right here on the unit. When would you want to use that and what does it do? Well, it loops the signal from your smartphone around in the mixer and back into the phone again so you can record it. Why would you want to use this? Because I wouldn't recommend you using it if you're just doing regular recordings into a DAW or anything like that. Well, Roland made this camera app called 4x Camera. Now, this is a performance recording tool, so you can easily record a split camera performance. Now it turns out that this camera app also has a function where you can play a background track, something for you to jam over. And if you're doing that, well, you might want to record that music too. And when you want to do that, this is when you turn on the Loopback. So in the end, what do I think about the Go Mixer Pro X? Well, I'm quite impressed because it's performed really well no matter what type of test I threw at it. I'd recommend this to any mobile music producer that wants something light, easy to power, connects directly to your smartphone or smart tablet, when you need something that is also very flexible in what you can connect to it. On top of being able to produce music with this, recording bass, guitar, synthesizers, other types of instruments, connecting stuff to the line in, well, I think that this interface could probably fit really, really well for streaming, for live streaming, because of the headset support. That way you can also talk to your audience at the same time. So if you are interested in getting yourself a Roland GO Mixer Pro X, then I'll put links to it down in the description and also in a pinned comment. Now, what did you think? Maybe you owned an earlier version of the Go Mixer. What do you think about the changes they've done here to this one? And is there any changes you would like to see in the future? Tell everyone reading the comment section down there what your thoughts are. Now, if you liked this video, then why don't you help me out with a thumbs up? If you didn't like this video, then you could always press the thumbs down. And if you want to support the work I do in this channel, sharing this video is a great way of doing that. If you want to support me in a financial way, then I do suggest you go and check out my music. There's a full list of links down there in the description. And if you want to support me in any other financial way, I have a Patreon too and PayPal. And if you don't want to do any of that, then that's okay too. As usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.